You ever notice how the Jedi are basically the emotionally repressed monks of the galaxy? Like they're out here swinging lightsabers and deflecting blaster bolts with telekinesis. But ask them about their feelings, and suddenly it's crickets and awkward coughs. The whole no attachment thing sounds noble until you realize half of them are secretly in love, haunted by trauma, or babysitting chosen ones with unresolved daddy issues. It's like the galaxy's most dangerous therapy group forgot step one of healing. Admit you have a problem. And look, I get it. Emotions are messy, people are unpredictable, and love has a nasty habit of getting in the way of thousand-year space religions. But when your grand plan for galactic peace involves telling a room full of hormonal Padawans to just not feel anything, you're not building Jedi, you're baking disaster cookies with a side of denial. They didn't just bottle it up, they triple-sealed it in a force-proof vault and threw away the key. But here's the kicker. They weren't even good at pretending. Obi-Wan had Satine, Anakin had Padme, Ahsoka had loyalty, Yoda had disappointment, and Mace had that look on his face like someone always stole his lunch. They all had attachments. They just refused to say the word out loud. And when things exploded, they stood around like confused parents at a kid's birthday party gone wrong. What happened? Why are the cupcakes on fire? Oh right, feelings. Meanwhile, Palpatine's in the corner, like a Sith life coach, whispering sweet nothings to Anakin, while the Jedi are off hosting emotional abstinence classes. It's honestly impressive how a group that wields cosmic power could be so bad at basic emotional intelligence. No wonder Anakin turned. He wanted therapy, and they gave him homework and silence. That's not a Jedi council. That's an HR nightmare with light. And the tragedy is, it didn't have to end that way. The Force was never the problem. The people misinterpreting it were. Love isn't what caused the fall. The fear of love did. If the Jedi had just taken one day off from dogma and actually talked about their feelings, we might have had a very different trilogy. But hey, at least we got some great memes out of it. In this video, we're diving into the emotional disaster zone that was the Jedi Order's stance on attachment. From Obi-Wan's repressed romance to Anakin's catastrophic meltdown, we'll break down exactly how the Jedi's refusal to acknowledge real human emotion didn't just hurt them, it doomed them. Stick around, because this one gets personal. Have you ever noticed how the Jedi talk about attachment like it's some kind of cosmic plague? Like the second you catch feelings, the Force cancels your subscription and boots you from the server. But then you start digging and realize, wait a minute, didn't half these guys have secret relationships? Deep friendships, or dead relatives they constantly thought about. It's like a cult that tells you to avoid sugar while hoarding cake in the back room. The more you look, the more you realize the whole thing smells a little off. Take Obi-Wan, for example. The poster child of Jedi discipline, cool-headed wise, and totally in love with Satine Kryze, ruler of Mandalore and wearer of really impractical royal dresses. They had a history, they had chemistry, and they had long gazes across diplomatic tables. But ask Obi-Wan about attachment, and he'll recite the Jedi code like a robot at a job interview. It's like watching someone hide a wedding ring during a speed date. And what about Yoda? Our wrinkled little guru preached non-attachment, like it was carved into the Force itself. But when Luke left Dagobah to save his friends, Yoda didn't just warn him. He practically sighed with the disappointment of a disappointed grandfather at a failed birthday party. Clearly, he cared. Clearly, he felt something beyond robes and riddles. And yet the dogma never wavered. Even Mace Windu, who acted like emotions were a form of weakness, clearly had a deep distrust for Anakin that wasn't just about rules. That was personal. He looked at Anakin the way a cat looks at a cucumber. Suspicious, tense, and already halfway into fight mode. If Jedi really didn't feel attachment, then why did so many of their decisions feel soaked in emotion and bias? So, what gives? Why does a group that claims to be emotionless act like the most emotionally repressed therapy patients in the galaxy? Alright, let's talk about the absolute nonsense of the Jedi's attachment policy. Because honestly, the more you look at it, the more it feels like a house of cards built by people who've never been in a relationship and are terrified of hugs. You've got an entire order obsessed with suppressing human instinct like it's some kind of game. But shockery pressing feelings doesn't make them disappear. It just turns them into thermal detonators with ticking timers. Anakin Skywalker is the textbook case of this disaster. Instead of helping him navigate the very real fear of losing Padme, the Jedi basically told him to just not feel. You're afraid of death. Cool. Just pretend you're not. You love your wife. That's illegal. No wonder the guy snapped. He didn't fall to the dark side because he was weak. He fell because the Jedi left him emotionally constipated and morally confused. Now here's the sad part. When the Jedi fell, it wasn't because they weren't strong enough, it was because they weren't honest enough. They lied to themselves about what it meant to feel. And when the pain came, they had no idea how to hold it, or let it go, because they never learned how to live with loss. They only learned how to pretend it didn't matter. Think about Ahsoka. She left the Order not because she stopped believing in the Force, but because she saw how little the Jedi believed in her. The betrayal wasn't just political, it was deeply personal. These were the people she trusted, the mentors who raised her. And when things got messy, they turned their backs like she was nothing more than a file to be closed. Even Obi-Wan, for all his stoicism, was shattered by Anakin's fall. You can hear it in his voice on Mustafar. He didn't just lose a Padawan, he lost a brother. And because the Jedi never gave him the language to express love, grief, or guilt, all he could do was scream and walk away, leaving Anakin burning behind him like a living metaphor for every suppressed emotion they'd both carried. There's something haunting about watching Order 66 play out. All those Jedi who spent their lives preaching peace, cut down by soldiers they fought beside. And most of them died alone, probably still clinging to the belief that detachment made them stronger. But in the end, it made them fragile, because they had nothing real to hold on to. This wasn't just a failure of doctrine, it was a failure of connection, of empathy, of basic humanity. The Jedi didn't fall because of the Sith. They fell because they weren't allowed to be human. And when the galaxy tested them, they shattered like glass under pressure. But here's the wild twist. Despite all their flaws, the Jedi still inspired EO. There's something almost mythic about their presence. When they enter a room, the atmosphere changes. They radiate discipline, power, calm. They're warrior monks, with laser swords, and minds sharper than their blades. That kind of presence doesn't just happen. It's built on something deep. Look at Qui-Gon Jinn, a Jedi who bent the rules because he listened to the living Force, not just the Council. He felt things, he believed in things, and yet, he never lost himself to those feelings. He walked that impossible line between connection and control, and he made it look effortless. He was what the Jedi could have been if they weren't terrified of being wrong. Here's the good news. The Jedi's story doesn't have to end in ashes and regrets, because even in the wake of all their mistakes, there's a chance to rebuild something better, and it starts by embracing the one thing they tried so hard to deny. That attachment isn't weakness, it's the foundation of everything worth protecting. Rey, for all the criticisms tossed her way, actually lives this idea. She doesn't cut herself off from feeling. She finds connection with Finn, Poe, Leia, and even Ben. Her strength comes from community, from bonds, from caring so deeply that she risks everything for people who matter. That's the Jedi the galaxy needs. Cal Kestis shows it too. After losing everything, he doesn't shut down, he opens up, finds allies, builds a crew, and fights for something bigger than vengeance. He's not perfect, but he's honest. And in that honesty, we see a version of the Jedi that feels real, grounded, human. Ahsoka's return also proves the path forward. She doesn't rejoin the Order, but she doesn't reject the Force either. She becomes something new. A bridge between the light and the lessons no one wanted to learn. Her journey is what healing looks like in Star Wars. Messy, hard, and full of second chances. If the Jedi are going to rise again, it won't be by returning to the old ways. It'll be by learning from the pain, keeping the wisdom, and letting go of the fear, because love doesn't lead to the dark side. Denying it does. In the end, the Jedi fell not because they cared too much, but because they pretended they didn't care at all. They mistook detachment for strength, and turned vulnerability into a crime. But feelings don't disappear just because you suppress them. They grow, they twist, they break through the cracks when you least expect them. Their doctrine created silence, where there should have been conversation, distance where there should have been support. It turned chosen family into cold hierarchy, and the greatest Force users in the galaxy into isolated ghosts in empty temples. They walked through wars without understanding the pain behind them, and by the time they noticed, it was too late. Anakin's fall wasn't inevitable, it was preventable. But the Jedi left him alone with his fear and called it discipline. They turned love into secrecy and grief into failure. And then they acted shocked when the whole temple burned. But it wasn't fire that destroyed them. It was the walls they built around their hearts. Thank you for watching the whole video. I make videos because of my love for Star Wars and Marvel. I've been asked countless times how I get my subtitles, and I generate them automatically with a tool I built. That same tool can be used here on my website. It's completely free and doesn't require signing up. My website contains the subtitle generator that is perfect for any video. Blogging post, where you can sign up with your email and receive notifications for when I post, and also my 3 channels. Critical Analysis Hub focuses on Star Wars and Marvel movies. Critical Analysis Hub Plus looks at Star Wars and Marvel shows. And Critical Analysis Hub XP centers on video games, like The Last of Us series, Jedi Survivor, and GTA 5. Thank you for being a fan.